Myself, Mohammad Iqbal. I'm from Kerala in India. It's 6:30 a.m. here in India. Um, I hope you would have seen my profile. I'm an IIT engineer. I graduated in 2012 with a bachelor's and master's in electrical engineering from IIT Madras. IIT Madras is one of the best universities in India. Where I was also topper when I graduated. And for the past 8 years, I've been training students for the competitive exams in India, which mostly are Math Olympiads, KVPY, and IIT JEE. So over this past 8 years, I have trained over 2,000 students, and many of them have succeeded in securing an admission into a premier institute like IITs, NITs, and similar places. So today, this is our introductory session. I am not planning to teach anything for the time being, but I guess many of you would be having a lot of questions about the SAT, how it differs from your school curriculum, how the questions are different. So I would like to take some time and answer those questions. Of course, there are a lot of things to be discussed. So this is an introductory class. So I'll just give a short summary of what is happening and how our course will be structured. So can you please let me know which grade you're studying in the chat box, whether you are in grade 9 or grade 10, or if there is somebody from grade 8, I would like to know. I see that Arya is from grade 8, and there are people from grade 8 again. There are people from grade 8. Yes. Yes, there are people from grade 9, grade 10. Yes, that is very cool. That is very cool. Cool. So we have students from 8th grade, 9th grade, and 10th grade. And so that wouldn't be a problem. I'll tell you why. First of all, College Board is the organization that conducts the SAT. Okay. So interestingly, they do not prescribe a syllabus for SAT. Instead, they have given 4 focus areas. I'm talking about the math section. Okay, I'm not talking about the verbal section or the essay. I'm purely talking about the math section in SAT 1. Okay, the general SAT. Of course, you would be knowing that there are SAT subject exams as well. So today, and our course will be focused on the SAT 1, which is the general SAT. So the SAT 1, as informed by the College Board, has 4 focus areas. So they don't give you a syllabus. They don't have a detailed syllabus. Unlike in India, if you come to India, if you take similar competitive exams, we have a very well prescribed syllabus. And there are a lot of resources that are also available here in India for competitive exams like JEE and other stuff. So, but for SAT, strictly speaking, there's no well-defined syllabus. They have just given 4 focus areas, which include Heart of Algebra. Heart of Algebra talks about linear equations, linear expressions, linear functions, and things like that. And there is the second area is problem solving and data analysis, which is about ratios, percentages, interpreting data from graphs, and things like that. And then you have Passport to Advanced Mathematics, which will involve solving little more complicated equations, like maybe quadratic equations, exponential function, exponential equations, maybe logarithms and stuff like that. And there's one more topic, which is additional topics in mathematics, which include some geometry and some trigonometry. So you would have realized that the percentage of questions that would come from geometry and trigonometry is going to be very small. Okay, so we will be starting our discussion with Heart of Algebra. And by the way, all these topics more or less coincide with what you have covered in your school from grade 7 onwards. Okay, grade 7, grade 8, grade 9, right? Unfortunately, there's no unified curriculum in the United States of America. It differs from state to state. So I can't exactly tell you which topic was learned in which class, which grade. But as we progress through our discussion, you will be able to you will be able to correlate it with what you have learned in your school. Anyway, irrespective of whether you have learned this in school or not, we will be starting from scratch. Okay, so that is about the syllabus, and I'll be giving you more details as and when we progress. Okay, this is just a summary of the syllabus. The summary is there's no prescribed syllabus. The College Board has only given focus areas, and based on this focus areas and the previous papers available and the sample papers given by the College Board, we have developed a huge collection of problems that will match with the difficulty level and the areas covered, the focus areas. Okay, and these focus areas will range from what you typically learn your grade 7 onwards. Okay, so our course structure will be as follows. So we will be covering the entire structure, entire syllabus. Okay, entire every type of questions that you typically see in an SAT will be covered in its depth and breadth, and all the lessons will be conducted in this similar manner. So either I'll be sitting in front of a computer and teaching using a tablet, or I will be writing on a digital board. Okay, but the medium, the platform that we'll be using will be Zoom. So I hope everyone is comfortable using Zoom. And we plan to conduct about 75 hours of lesson so that we will be able to cover the entire syllabus. Okay, so depending on, so for the time being, we have planned 1 hour sessions. If we can make into 1.5 sessions, that'd be great. But for the time being, we have 1 hour session. So we will have about 50 sessions of 1 hour each. And the course materials. So we will be preparing our own course materials. So the course material will have important points, shortcuts, strategies, and numerous problems. So these will be shared to you every week. And the medium of communication will be a WhatsApp group which you have created and which you are already a part of. So using this WhatsApp group, we will be sharing the information like Zoom links for the upcoming class, and I'll be sharing the recorded sessions of the previous class. Okay, and we'll be sharing the assignments for the upcoming class. So it is important that you stay updated with the WhatsApp group. And I see that some people have privacy concerns with WhatsApp. So if that is going to be an issue, we'll switch to Telegram or Signal very soon. All right. So far, so good. I hope you're with me. Yes. So our strategy will be as follows. See, first of all, we are starting early. Okay, some of you are starting in grade 9, some of them are starting in grade 10. Typically, what we have seen, typically an average student starts preparing in grade 11 or something like that. But obviously, here we are starting early. So, what is the advantage of starting early? Almost, as I just mentioned, coincides most of the topics curriculum that is covered in the SAT grade 7 onwards. So, it is easier for a student to manage your SAT preparation along with school. So it is much easier. Okay. Secondly, if you're planning to get a near perfect score, if you're aspiring to get a near perfect score, and if you are say your interest is into get into STEM areas, so it is absolutely necessary that you get a perfect score in math, right? So it is absolutely necessary to start as early as possible because this is a competitive exam. And our second strategy is we will be presenting our lessons in a highly structured manner. We'll be focusing on solving a lot of problems. Starting from our lessons will be highly structured, and we'll be building up concepts slowly. Typically, what I've seen is most of the SAT test prep companies, what they do is they give you last minute crash courses, or they give you a lot of practice tests. That's all. Okay. But unlike those companies, unlike those test prep companies, what we are planning to do is we are going to give you structured lessons. So there will be, as discussed, there will be a lot of in-person classes. So that is going to be an advantage. And most important thing is about practice. If you've typically observed this kids before, who get their training in India, you have seen that whenever they take typically standardized exam who are from India, they do extremely well in the math part of the exam. I don't know whether you have noticed this before. The reason is very simple. Okay, they go through a lot of drilling. They go through a lot of practice in the name. They go through a lot of drilling in the name of practice. I'll tell you an example. So here in here in India, if they are preparing for an exam like JEE, so there will be 3 subjects that they will need to learn: physics, chemistry, and mathematics. Typically, an average student solves about 5,000 questions in one subject. Okay, so that is one thing. They go through a lot of practice. They go through a lot of drilling. Okay. Secondly, they will know a lot of shortcuts because these are competitive exams. You need to crack these questions in few seconds. Each question needs to be done in few seconds. I'll come to details very soon. So they need to look. They need to know a lot of shortcuts, tricks, and sneaky approaches. Okay, so we will be incorporating that desi style approach into our course. Okay, I just mentioned that majority of the SAT curriculum coincides with the school syllabus, and if you go and pick up an individual SAT question, it's going to be very easy. It will be very easy. You'll be surprised to see that this is such an easy question. But then what makes SAT a highly competitive exam? See, my point is, first of all, the curriculum is nothing but more or less coincides with what you learn in a school. Secondly, if you go and pick up an individual question, SAT question, you will be surprised to see that it is very, very easy. Okay. Now, what makes a competitive exam? Okay. So, first of all, the essay, unlike your school problems, most of the time the wording of the problem will be in such a way that you will need little more deeper understanding of the concept. That is one major difference. Okay. Unlike the problems that you typically see in your school exams or in school, the SAT problems will be little more rephrased in such a way that they will correlate with a real world problem. Okay, that is one thing. So what I'm saying is these will be application based problems. Okay, and you will definitely need better understanding, deeper understanding of the concepts. And secondly, the problems need to be cracked much quicker. In the math section of the SAT, in the math section, there are 58 questions. And you have about 80 minutes. So on an average, you should be able to crack a question in 80 seconds. 80 seconds is what you get to crack a question, to solve a problem in SAT. So you have to solve it, and you have to mark the answer in the response sheet. Okay, for all this you just have 80 seconds. So imagine this, imagine the magnitude of the pressure that you will be going through, because you have to crack these questions, 58 questions in 80 minutes, and you're getting 80 seconds on an average. So of course the harder questions is going to take a lot more time. Say some will take 2 or 3 minutes. Some questions will definitely take 2 or 3 minutes to crack, because it's math. It takes time. So to compensate, the easier ones needs to be spotted and should be done in 20 or 30 seconds. Okay. So the easier one, the harder one is going to take anyway 2 or 3 minutes. So the easier one needs to be spotted and to be done in maybe 10 or 20 or 30 seconds. So that is one very important aspect of SAT. So our preparation will be aligned in that way, okay, in that manner. And the third point is, in school, I assume that most of the schools let you use calculator even in your exam. In SAT, there are two sections. One section allows you to use calculator. In the second section, calculators are not allowed. So it may be always tempting for you to actually pick up your calculator and do the math, but it is not always possible in an SAT, because there is a section which does not allow you to use calculator. And secondly, even in the calculator section, if you're going to pick up the calculator and use it, it may be disadvantages for you, because you have to pick up the calculator, plug in the numbers, use the proper operations, and through using maybe you will end up taking more time. Okay, you will end up taking more time than by actually solving by pen and paper, right? So it is also important to know when to pick up a calculator, when not to pick up a calculator. So this also forms a part of our strategy for the SAT preparation. So the idea is simple. There are two sections. One section will let you use calculator. The second section does not let you use calculator. Even in the calculator section, it is important to know when to pick up the calculator and when not to pick up the calculator. Sometimes picking up a calculator, even if it's mentioned that you can use a calculator, if you're picking up a calculator, it is going to be a disadvantage for you. Okay, it is going to be a waste of time, because we don't have that kind of a time. As I just mentioned, on an average you get 80 seconds for a problem. Some questions may take 2 or 3 minutes, so the easier one needs to be cracked in 20 or 30 seconds. Okay, and the ultimately, see, this is an objective exam. Okay, so here the steps do not matter. It is immaterial how you arrive at the answer. Only the final answer matters. Only final answer matters. You have to enter the final answer as a numerical value. Either you have to enter it as a numerical value, or you have to choose from one of the four given options. So there are two types of question. One type will be a normal MCQ, where there will be four options. Even we'll talk about all this in very detail. Okay, this is just a summary. We'll talk about all these ideas throughout the course. Okay, you don't have to worry about this. This is too much information. You don't have to worry about it, because as and when it is required, I'll be giving you proper guidance. This is just a summary. Okay, the only thing you need to understand is, unlike in a school exam where you are expected to show steps, here steps do not matter. Okay, if you're planning to write too many steps, you're going to end up wasting time. Okay, so that means you should be able to do a lot of mental math. You should be able to do a lot of calculation in your mind. Secondly, you should be able to go from one step to another step, maybe skipping a few steps in between. Okay, and you should be able to do it quickly. You should be able to know a lot of tricks, shortcuts, strategies, sneaky approaches, and all these, right? Does that make sense? So far, so good. I would like to get a response from everyone. It'd be great if everyone can give a yes or no. Yeah. Yeah. Summary is very simple. It's, the SAT curriculum almost coincides with, there is no well-defined syllabus in the first place. The curriculum coincides with what you have learned in your grade 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. If you go and pick up an individual question, it is an easy question, provided you have a lot of time, provided you have, say, 5 or 10 minutes, you will be able to crack it. But here, time constraint is a big problem. Okay. So our strategy will be in such a way that we will equip you to crack those questions in the limited time available. And during this process, you should be able to learn a lot of shortcuts, strategies, tricks, sneaky approaches, all this. Okay. And the second thing is, see, the only way to learn mathematics is to do mathematics. I just gave you the Indian example, right? Typically, an Indian kid who gets coaching here in India goes through a lot of drilling, goes through a lot of problem solving sessions. Okay. So we'll bring this element here. So I'll be giving a lot of problems for practice. One thing I would like to tell the parents, if parents are available here, is unfortunately there is no way I can see how much time they are spending at home. Okay. In fact, you don't have to spend a lot of time for this SAT preparation. You have to spend an hour or two per week. Okay. Apart from attending the lecture, you just have to spend an hour or two for the preparation, or maybe doing the problem sheets or for the assignments. So I would request the parents to make sure that your kid is taking the best use of the resources we'll be providing. Okay. And we won't be, as I just mentioned, we won't be uh, starting the lessons today. We'll start from absolute basics. We'll start from linear expressions and basic simple linear equations and all. That we'll see from next class onwards. But I'll just give you a flavor of a question that you typically see in an SAT. Okay. Okay. I'll just give you a flavor of a question that you typically see in an SAT and how to approach that question. Okay. Some of you are 8th graders. So I hope even 8th graders have learned about linear equations in two variables. 8th graders, can you tell me a yes or no? Have you heard about linear equations in two variables? Linear equations. Linear equations in two variables. 8th graders? Yes. Yes. That is very good. Okay. I'll just wind up. This is an introductory section, but I'll just wind up by showing you a typical SAT problem and how to approach this question. Okay. Ready? Don't worry about this question. Don't worry about the question. This is not our first class. This is just to give you a flavor. Okay. We will be starting from scratch, absolute basics in the next class. Okay. So don't worry about that. So here, which ordered pair x comma y satisfies a system of equations shown below? This is a typical question from system of linear equations. A linear equation will have power of the variable as 1, the degree of the variable as 1. So you can see that this is 1 here, this is 1 here, this is 1 here, this is 1 here. So both of them are linear equation. And moreover, these two are linear equations in two variables, because you see there are two variables x and y. So this is what we call a system of linear equations. A system of linear equations can have a common solution. It may not have a common solution. It can have infinitely many common solutions. Okay, so these cases are possible. So typically, how do you solve a question? Can somebody tell me how do you solve a question? How do you solve a question when you're encountered with a system of linear equation in two variables? Maybe ninth graders and 10th graders can tell me how to. Yeah. So one person has already given me a hint. Can others? Yes, 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 yes. Others. Please give it a thought. Please give it a thought. There's no hurry. Just think how you will be able to solve this question. Two persons have already replied. Can others share thoughts? Yeah, three persons have replied. You could message me privately as well. Okay, but message me on the other device. Others. Yes. Very good, very good, very good. I see a lot of responses. That is pretty good. In fact, this is a standard problem. Okay, this is a standard problem. Okay, so what you're talking about is the school approach. Okay, what you're telling me is the school approach. In school, how do you solve this question? See, one way is somebody was talking about substitution. Okay, you just take this y value. Okay, y is equal to x plus 2. You just go and plug in this here. Okay, that is one way to do this. Okay, you just substitute y here. Now you have an equation in x only. Okay, and you will be able to solve that equation. Of course, there is some simplification involved. Say, for example, you have x by 3 plus 2 times x plus 2. Why do I have I have 2 times x plus 2? Because I have replaced this y with x plus 2. This is equal to 18. Now you simplify this expression. This is a linear equation in one variable. Okay, and then you can solve it. That is one way to do it. Yes. And the second approach is, again, you've heard about elimination method. Okay, there is another method called elimination method, and a third approach would be to plot the graph. Okay, if you have a graphing calculator, you can actually, or even with a pen and paper, you can plot the graph and get the solution. Okay, these are typical school approaches, but in an SAT, you have to observe. Okay, don't just blindly go into problem solving. Just observe. See, again, as I just mentioned, we don't care about steps. Okay, only final answer matters. Ultimately, final answer matters. There's nothing else that matters. Irrespective of whether you have written 2 steps, 3 steps, nothing matters. Only final answer matters. So your intention should be to arrive at the final answer in the shortest possible time. So you should be always looking for shortcuts and sneaky approaches. Okay, so the one thing that may come to your mind quickly is to look for options. See, of course, the first equation says that y is equal to x plus 2. So the y coordinate is x coordinate plus 2. So Tell me which two options, these two options, right? These two options match. These two options match. These two options match. Now what do you do? So you have eliminated these two options. You have eliminated these two options. These all should be done very quickly, okay, in your minds, without actually moving a pencil or pen. Now you just go and verify the second equation. See, what did I do initially? I've taken the first equation. It says y coordinate is x coordinate plus 2. So there are two. Sorry. There are two options which match that condition. Now in the next step, you just verify this equation. Verify this equation. You have to plug in these two and verify this equation, and then you will be able to get the answer. So this may be slightly easier than the approaches we have already seen. But in this question, if you observe very carefully, there is a very easy way to spot the answer. Somebody has already given me that answer. That is pretty impressive. Somebody has already given me the answer. So there is a very easy way to spot the answer from this question. You know what? You just look at the options. These are all integers. Options are all integers. And of course, we have integers everywhere. So these are all integers. These are all integers. This is an integer. This is an integer. So this has to be an integer. You can't have a fraction there. You can't have a fraction there. You can't have a rational number here. So obviously, your x needs to be divisible by 3. X has to be a multiple of 3. X has to be a multiple of 3. And just look at the options. Just look at the option. There is just one option. There is just one option in which your x is a multiple of 3. Seen that? It's a matter of 5 seconds. If you can observe it. If you can observe it, just a matter of 5 seconds. And of course, some people have already given me the answer. So the idea is very simple. See, even I hope this is clear. This approach, what I just mentioned, is clear to you. Okay. Even if it's not a problem, because we will start from basic linear equations in one variable, and then we'll move on to the linear equations in two variable cases. Okay. You don't have to worry about this for the time being. I'm just giving a flavor of a question that you typically see in an SAT. Okay. So the idea is simple. You shouldn't be thinking in school approach. Okay. Because, school approach is about writing so many steps. It's about following a standard procedure and things like that. Here, you should be able to think innovatively. You have to think out of box. You have to come up with shortcuts and sneaky approaches. And what is the approach I just mentioned? You just observe that your x by 3 has to be an integer. So x has to be a multiple of 3. And there is just one option in which your x is a multiple of 3. Okay, I hope this is clear. I hope this is clear. But there's a catch. There's a catch. These kind of these may not work always, because not all in all questions you can't go and verify the options. Okay, not in every question you can spot a tricky way. Okay, so you should know the normal approach as well. So the idea is simple. I won't be just teaching you the shortcut. I'll be teaching you the concepts as well. I'll be teaching you the concepts, and apart from that, I'll be teaching you the shortcuts from the SAT perspective, right? I hope our approach is very clear, right? We'll be focusing on problem solving. We'll be discussing concept, so that even if there is no sneaky approach, even if there is no shortcut which strikes you immediately during an exam, you should be able to do it in a normal method. But the idea is with a lot of practice, you should be able to do it very quickly. Okay, because time is the ultimate constraint. We have 58 questions, 80 minutes. On an average, you're getting 80 seconds. Cool. So this was meant to be an introductory section. This was not meant to be. See, I was told that I should be taking only half an hour. It has been 40 minutes already. So I hope our approach is very clear, right? So our approach will focus on solving a lot of problems. Our approach will start from basics and will go in a very structured manner. Okay, and since we have a lot of time, you will have that early starter advantage. And parents are available here. Uh, I request you to make sure that your kid is actually spending at least 1 or 2 hours on the SAT preparation. Of course, there is a lot of load coming from school, but unfortunately, to crack a competitive exam, you know, uh, if you take an individual SAT question, see, this is an individual SAT question. If you take an individual SAT question, it's no big deal. If you have 5 or 10 minutes, you can crack it, no issues at all. Because you would have learned standard procedures in school. But standard procedures will take a lot of time. You should also know the shortcuts. But shortcuts may not always work. So you should also know the standard basic ideas and the standard procedures. Right? I think I'll wind up with this. Uh, we will start our regular lessons from the next class onwards, and detailed see, you must be wondering what is there in heart of algebra, what is covered in this. All this will be informed to you in due course. Okay, in fact, we will be beginning with heart of algebra, which deals with linear equations, linear inequalities, linear functions, linear equations in two variables, system of linear equations in two variables, and that kind of stuff. And that constitutes 1/3 of the SAT syllabus. Okay, so we'll be beginning with the pretty basic stuff. All right. So, is there any particular question that I need to address? Please do let me know. Otherwise, we can call it a day. And of course, we are available on the group. We have a WhatsApp group. You could text me or WhatsApp me, or even could call me up anytime in case you have concerns. Okay, right? That makes sense. So I hope that was pretty clear. No confusion on how we'll be approaching the program. Uh, Well, I think you should be contacting Mr. Shaji. You would have got the link from him, right? Please do get in touch with Mr. Shaji. Yes, and of course, in case during the class, in case you want to open up the mic and speak to me, it is absolutely fine. Okay, so class is going to be an interactive one. In case you have questions, you can get it cleared from the class itself. Okay, all right then. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. I hope to see you all next week onwards for a very fruitful journey. Right, see you.